Hello everyone and welcome to our next exciting session. I'm Lynn Taylor and I'm lucky enough to be chairing this session. And in a minute I'm going to be delighted to introduce Patricia Dennis, and she's going to tell us all about adventures of the writing process, digitizing the writing process. This is a 20-minute presentation, so Patricia's going to present for about 15 minutes and we'll have time to address your comments and the questions you've got for her. So please can you pop any questions or comments you've got in the chat comments, and we'll get round to as many of those as we can at the end. So without further ado, Patricia, it's over to you. Take it away.
All righty. Good morning, everyone. Well, my side is 6:50, so good morning. If for anyone else, if you're in the afternoon, good afternoon. Today, I will be presenting my research and designing of TAWP, which stands for the Adventures of the Writing Process. A link will be shared of the slide so that you all have access to go through the presentation as you feel free. And let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. And we're heading off to the presentation. So I'm going to actually add captions just, for accessibility purposes so you guys can see what I'm saying, and let's get started. All right. So again, good morning and welcome to the Adventures of the Writing Process. My name is Patricia Dennis, and I will be giving you guys basically an overview of my process and how OER played a role in me designing and creating this online learning tool for students and educators, more particularly young students, as in second, third, and fourth grade. So again, welcome. Please spend like about 2 minutes, so we can loosen up the chin in the chat, introducing yourself, your location, if you would like, and one fun fact about you. Also, as you all do this, I'll be inserting the link to my presentation in the chat, or more so my chair is going to be. So I'll answer the question real quick myself. Again, my name is Patricia Dennis. I am located in Parsippany, New Jersey, but I am actually from Newark, New Jersey. And a fun fact about me, besides being an educator, I am also an artist. I work with different mediums of art between traditional and digital. So that's a little fun little spiel about me. So let's jump right into it. So research overview of TAWP. Again, TAWP is an acronym for the Adventures of the Writing Process, which is comprised of e-learning and WebQuest websites that are designed to educate both students and instructors on the writing process. So the inspiration of TAWP came about in my 2 years of observation within a second grade ELA classroom. If any of you are not familiar with or are familiar with the organization that I did my work with students in the ELA classroom, is called AmeriCorps. Again, AmeriCorps when I start giving you guys like kind of more feedback on what I do, I'll give you guys a little more breakdown of what AmeriCorps is. But in that role, I acted as like academic support for these students. And I was able to get a real eye version of this phenomenon that appeared within the students. And it wasn't more so the constructing of sentences or spelling or punctuation, but the actual functionality of going through their writing. And they struggle so much that I would have students cry. So with that, I realized that I wanted to go for my master's to kind of tackle this problem. And sure enough, it brought me to the writing process. So TAWP was created to educate and give guidance in the writing process. The three methodologies that were used in conducting the research and development of TAWP is the writing process theory, of which I'm going to talk about a little more and give you guys direction on where you can find more information on that. Reflective blogging and website designing. So the role of WordPress domains and other tools in research, reflecting, and designing. Of course, my overall research is about the writing process, but OER and other kind of creative and educational tools played a major role in both designing the sites and reflective learning. So reflective collaborative learning. WordPress domains host instruments for creating and using TAWP as a service in connecting research and reflective learning through blog posts. This open approach in the master's thesis writing course that I took in the fall of 2020 supported the research development within reviews from fellow classmates. The updated research creation of TAWP blogs were shared from the course instructor, Dr. Mia Zamora, which I'm going to get into a little more, WordPress domain, with the intent to create open and collaborative resources on the open web. So, all right, the first domain. So this domain, which here you can access it and click on it and see the actual live site of it, is reflective in the sense of every week we were tasked to submit progresses on that we made through our research. So here in these images are just what I use in my blog headers for every week I did my design, and I also gave snippets of a little bit of what I talked about for each week. Right here I have presented week 1, week 6, and week 13, which again is hyperlinked on the header, and you could go check the blogs out more in detail. And this helped in me producing my work and being constant and consistent with what I'm developing. All right, the second domain, which is where all the artifacts of TAWP is located. So in this domain, again, you can click on the header and it's hyperlink. It shows from my research and methodologies, the overall 17-page research overview paper, the learning sites literature review, all the fun stuff that makes TAWP what it is, from the end product to how it's made. It's all hosted on the site, which you have access to view. All right. So last but not least, the third domain where the development of the master thesis actually comes into display, in that reflective learning. So here I have pictured are just snippets of Dr. Mia Zamora's WordPress, which she uses in this thesis class and amongst other classes she teach to act as an open reflective learning on the open web. So Dr. Zamia's WordPress, the intent to create open and collaborative resources on the open web. She also uses Twitter, which her Twitter handle is at Mia Zamora PhD, serves as communication for the posting of the reflective blogs for both my classmates and I, using the hashtags UnboundEc, which she kind of mentioned that in her presentation yesterday, and thesis writing to share the coursework with other students and professionals globally. So it's been really interesting to post my information on Twitter, which I'm going to have my Twitter handle at the end of the presentation, on the open web of Twitter, because I follow different edtech and OER accounts, and they give really, really interesting feedback. I actually had an account from Grounded Theory follow me and give their feedback on what they think about my work. All right. So the other tools that played a major role in developing TAWP. So Google Sites and Google Slides were really, really useful, especially because user security, and you can restrict certain access to what you want to present to the open web or to a certain audience. And I was able to make a user-friendly mock version of TAWP, both the instructor version, the student version, and the case study, which I'm going to talk about later on in the presentation. And Google Slides also acted as kind of note-taking for students and how I presented my information. Canva is what I use to design all the lovely images you'll be seeing on TAWP sites. Canva is really user-friendly. It creates really engaging imagery. And also, I was able to add in my fun little Bitmoji to, again, the adventures of the writing process. I want it to stick to that theme of being engaging and not so strictly just academic, because my target audience are younger students and educators. Prezi acted as the presentation medium for all my TAWP content, and definitely I like the interface of it because it's interactive. It has that in and out motion, and again, keeping in mind my users and the person or people or educators who are going to be presenting it. And last but not least, I utilize YouTube, which now I've given you all access to view the videos that I've made for my student version. So alongside the Prezi presentation that is strictly for the instructors to explain to students, I also have YouTube videos where I break down more in depth, what the information I want students to convey when going through TAWP. So it was actually really fun making these YouTube videos. I was able to use my iPad and my phone recording to just play around with technology and see what I come up with. All right, so this is where we get into the nitty gritty of the educational practice where I put TAWP into work. So currently, I have not been able to actually put it into play with younger students, but I was able to test the content and its relevantness to my undergrad students at St. Elizabeth University. So again, a pilot site was created for students at St. Elizabeth University to test the learning content of TAWP. The methodology used to teach the course was the writing process theory. The purpose of TAWP content was to inform and observe students' reaction while learning the writing process throughout the undergrad fall 2020 semester. So it was kind of like knocking three birds out on one stone. Not only was I able to test the content, I was also able to observe the phenomena of how my students reacted to the information alongside conveying and displaying this information for them, because regardless of the fact I do the writing process isn't just solely for younger students and educators, but I want all students that I interact with or who just wants to learn about writing and making their writing easier, accessible for them. So here I have a snippet of the homepage of this site, and again, you can click on the hyperlink to access it in the header. I also have snippets of what the Prezi presentations will look like. All right, so here's a student example. My student Francesca was so gracious enough to actually give me permission last night to display her information. I really wanted to display Francesca in particular because she is one of my ESL students who truly struggles with gathering her ideas and going through it. So breaking down this writing process, she explains how it was easy for her to go through her writing and for it to make sense to her because she was doing it in steps in the way I broke it down and explained to her through the content of TAWP. If you want to go look into more detail of Francesca's work, you hyperlink here below. You can see her fall 2020 and spring 2021 website where she displays her process in each essay of the writing process. So I thought it was really cool to give her input, and as I said, she was gracious enough and excited to give her feedback. All right. So here, the next steps for TAWP. And this is probably where I'm most excited at. So I've recently been accepted into a PhD in education program in instructional design and technology, where I plan to take the core fundamentals of instructional design and the ideologies of open educational resources to further my work in a dissertation of TAWP. So this is where where I would love to hear some of your feedback in the comments and see what do you guys think about what I've produced so far. And again, this is not the final stop of TAWP. Honestly, I think I'm still in the beginning and early stages, and in designing and finding more information and finding more activities to implement into the sites. So that is pretty much my presentation. I wanted to make sure I leave enough time to just answer some questions at the end. Thank you for attending my session. Below, you can find my contact information for further inquiries. The little cutie that you see up here in the moving GIF is actually one of my creations, and she will be the main face of the adventures of the writing process when I begin to construct my media design from scratch. And again, I have my email address, my professional sites, and my social medias where you can follow me or contact me if you are interested in the work that I'm going to be producing in the near and far future. And again, you guys all have access to this presentation. And thank you for listening.
Oh, thanks so much, Patricia. So much affirmation and enthusiasm coming through on the comments. You probably haven't even had time to look at them because of your enthusiasm. So you've got people just saying how inspired they were from London, Milton Keynes, Oklahoma. Kathy says her daughter's completing an MFA in teaching creative writing, and she was very excited by your presentation and loved your enthusiasm. Sonia says, thank you for getting up and joining us so very early. And actually, people are saying it was a fabulous presentation. I think one of the hallmarks of a fabulous presentation is that there aren't actually dozens and dozens of questions, because it was all put across so clearly. So can you tell us a little bit more about the little guy behind us? Because you actually mentioned about your site chatting beforehand. So talk us through what all this is about.
So just a little background about me. Again, I am from Newark, New Jersey. It's a really a hard knock city. And when I was growing up, I struggled with writing. I'm actually shocked at myself. I became an English major. So when I got older and I started going into education, and the audience of students I were working with were literally just like me, students in an urban area who struggle with their writing. And that's my alarm to tell me the 15 minutes is up. And I really struggle. And as I watched these students, I saw me and I was sad. And I was like, I've been here before and I've done this as a kid. I've experienced this. What can I do to make these students writing easier for them? Obviously, writing is a process that we go through throughout life. It's like it's in the liberal arts, hindering on the arts. So, like of the fun fact I share with you guys that I am an artist. Art, with any art, regardless of what it is something you need to practice on. Practice is a process. So with that said, this is why I wanted to emphasize on writing being a process and not a product, in which I kind of coined that from Dr. Murray, well, Professor Murray, where he initiated this ideology and this theory of making writing a process and not a product, and just making it easier for our students. So with that, I decided to go and dig and do more research on the writing process, and then I realized we are in a new age. I'm not reinventing the wheel, because again, the writing process between Donald Murray and my lovely inspiration Peter Elbow, who I hope one day I can collaborate with, as they explain this, it's writing is a phenomenon. It's something that happens differently with different people. So I wanted to make a core, like, kind of type of resource that this phenomenon can work with. So with that, I decided to digitalize the writing process. This is where my love for ed tech and designing came into play, and this is where my fun little person, this is actually me when I had orange dreads. So this is a kind of recreation to me. Her name is Little Miss P, because that's what my students know me as, is Miss Patricia. I don't like for them to call me Miss Dennis. I always tell them that's my mom's name. Um, so Little Miss P is gonna be basically the face for TAWP when I move it into kind of getting away from using other people's design and kind of putting my own interpersonalness into it, because I want students to see, like, listen, I created this from the heart for you guys. And that's kind of why I wanted to wear this shirt with humankind, because that's what I want this program to feel like.
Oh, it's a wonderful design, and I'm really sorry that you decided not to change your badge to it, but I really think you should do that. Just get in there and change your OER badge. There's so much affirmation coming through. Emma says it was a fabulous presentation. Thank you. Celine said it was very, very inspiring, as did Ed. And Kathy says you are magic. Thank you. Now, one thing I must say is we've had a few problems sharing some of the slides due, I think, possibly to the length of the link. So our lovely alt helpers here have said that the shared slides are in the Discord resources channel because the link has split. So it's really important, everybody, please go to the Discord resources channel. We're coming up on time now, but obviously this video will be up on YouTube, so you'll be able to pop comments in there. And also Patricia will be around on Discord to carry on the conversation about this fascinating topic.
I'm so glad that all of you came to my session. Honestly, again, very nervous, but it feels good to actually speak my research into existence and what I want to do with OER and education.
Yeah, I mean, you've really put that across. And I think, speaking your research into existence is such a powerful message. And we couldn't tell that you were nervous. It was absolutely brilliant, all clear. And, really, really affirmative comments in chat. Everyone enjoyed it so much, Patricia. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Nom nom nom.